I hated that nickname, by the way. It was like if a man called me lasagna, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so attractive. Oh, hello. We're supposed to be in our 20s, by the way. Like, what?
No, no, stop it. You're hearing me. Hey guys, Nina here,
Hey, and I'm Anya.
and welcome to our More Than Fiction podcast. Today we'll be talking about Fourth Wing. This is a book that, people rage about. It's like so popular. I actually, for a while, did not want to read it because of how popular it was. I was like a little rebel. I refuse to indulge in what society says is, a good book. But now here I am. I read it, and yeah, today we're gonna discuss it. Anya, what did you think about the book, just in general?
Just in general, well, I will say to you now that I have left this book being a bit confused about why it is as popular as it is. Because yes, I've seen all the hype, I've seen all the attention on it, and just as you, sometimes I'm a little bit apprehensive about books that have this much of attention on them, because I don't know, that sometimes means that even if they are good, the hype makes them sound like the masterpieces of literature that will change my life. So I'm going into it expecting that this book will change my life, and if it's just like fine, I'm left feeling disappointed. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of that, combination of like, not like other girls cheating that sadly I have, and like I have to be different and I have to like, I don't know. It's a toxic trait, but that's kind of why I've been avoiding it. But you know what? I'm giving it a good, honest shot. I can get into it and be objective and look at it without focusing so much on just the hype, hopefully. And I wasn't that impressed with it. Like, if it wasn't for this podcast, I would not finish the book to the end.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I mean, I have to kind of agree. I like the book. I enjoyed it. It was a fun read. Once I started, I was kind of into it, and it hooked me, which that's what you want a book to do, right? And I also went into it with my expectations low because, yeah, sure, hyped books, you expect a lot from them, but at the same time, I'm also aware that the books that are hyped aren't always good. So I was kind of prepared for that option. So my expectations weren't that high, which is interesting. And yeah, it was a fun read to me, but I definitely agree that it's overhyped in the sense that there are a lot of books out there that are better, but they are not near the attention that this book receives. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was like a cute, good book in a way, but overhyped.
Yeah, I get you, because then you wonder why aren't all those other books that, do a similar thing and maybe you personally believe that they do that thing better, why aren't they like having this many Goodreads reviews, awards and whatnot? So yeah, I get it, but I am trying to sort of step back from it and like not judge the book just based on like the context surrounding it, but based on the content itself. And based on the content itself, I'm left wondering sort of who this book is for, because I believe I might simply not be the target audience for it. But then I'm left wondering who is the target audience for it, because I'm 25. I've read so many books set in high schools with like magical little tournaments, with like little houses that people go to where they have to like save the world. Tons. Millions. I'm at this point in my life where I do not want to be reminded of high school anymore. If I can help it. Especially out of gym class, especially out of anything athletic. Oh my god. So this is my really like petty and subjective opinion of something that I didn't like. So that's like, obviously I'm not being objective here. But yeah, the setting and the plot is sort of seems aimed to me at like high school people. And then you have the characters who are in their 20s. However, they all act like they're 16 at most. All the dialogue, all the like thought processes and decisions were so immature to me, and the writing was on that level as well. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just did not feel like I'm reading a book about 20-year-olds, except for all the times that there was like fingering or something. And like, you don't want to market that towards high schoolers, obviously. So who is reading it? Who is it for? Apparently a lot of people, but I'm confused.
Yeah, okay, I get your point. I also thought that a lot of the times this book really did feel very high schoolish to me, which I was disappointed by because I like academia books, but at this point in my life, I prefer a more kind of like a college vibe, and this essentially was supposed to be a college. So if I just focus a little bit on Violet, regardless of how I felt about certain other characters, I thought in a lot of ways that she was mature just because of the way that she handled certain situations. When sometimes you get in books, YA books, characters with their main love interests, they like have those stupid miscommunication tropes and, oh no, he doesn't like me, that's probably the problem. But with Violet, it kind of felt like she was mature because every time she had something to tell Xaden, for example, she would just tell him to his face. She wouldn't shy away from that. So in some cases, yes, she did feel immature. But honestly, I kind of liked Violet as a character. I also thought she was super smart. The way she kind of went about things, the way she, for example, when she poisoned people and she used her smartness, I guess, against others since she wasn't that capable physically. So I like that, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, in general, if I speak in general, this book did feel a little bit high schoolish to me, and I also didn't really like that, especially with some characters that were supposed to be like these evil protagonists, but they had no motivation behind them whatsoever. It just felt so out of place and senseless, and it just annoyed me.
Yeah, like all the drama that happened between like the pupils, it was so like 14-year-olds who like just like want to hate on each other for no reason. It's not like well-adjusted adults in their 20s. But you're at the age where you're doing your bachelor's degree, essentially. You're not going to just like act like a petty bully, which is what they were doing, except that they also like had free range to like kill. Which, I don't know, do we want to get into like the logistical issues of this college already now? Because I have complaints.
I just want to state one complaint and then we'll see where it goes. But just about the fact that they were allowed to kill, that made zero sense to me. Just because like you're supposed to work here as a team. You train for the squadron so that you're a team. So why is killing something that is a good thing in the sense, because it makes zero sense. Like, you want a lot of capable students, you want to train them, you want as many soldiers as possible, so why kill them before they even get the chance to train? Like, even in the parapet, why would you allow people who are untrained to just die instead of maybe, take advantage of their potential, since they probably have one, and then allow them to kill each other, even though teamwork is supposed to be a thing here, not... Why would you want someone in your team that will just go ahead and kill you whenever you turn your back on them? It makes no sense.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm so happy that you... I thought I was going crazy because how is this not the first thought that everybody has? Like, oh my God, we've been told in this book that they're running out of conscripts. They're running out of people to just go into the infantry, right? So how are you affording losing 67 people while crossing a goddamn bridge? Who's running the school? Who's running this country? Like, why are you wasting resources on killing people who are willing to fight for your country? Like, maybe someone like wore the wrong type of boots, but they could be the best dragon rider on the planet. But no, you're just gonna let them like crash into their death? That makes no sense in universe. Like out of universe, the only way I can sort of analyze it is that the author like really, really wanted us to feel that sense of danger, that sense of suspense, that something bad could happen to our main character. But like, I never felt like she was ever actually in danger. Like, obviously nothing bad is going to happen to her. So all it did is make this school look like it's incredibly poorly managed. That's it.
Yeah, it made zero sense. Like the parapet, for example, that could have been a really good test at the end of the school year. That would make sense. That once, you get your training done, once you learn stuff, if you can't handle the parapet, that means that you won't be able to handle a dragon. But until you get to that point, why would you send kids that are untrained into their deaths for absolutely no reason? Yeah, it didn't make sense. But okay, we'll talk a bit more about this later. Now let's just introduce the book a little bit. It's a lot of names, so I'm sorry if I get anything wrong. This is just like a general overview. Sure. Basically, it's set in a world that has dragons, and there are multiple countries in this world, but there are two main countries that are important. One is Nevare, so our characters, they are in this country, and the other one, I forgot what it was. Do you remember?
Is it ever important? Really?
Yeah, it's not that important. But basically, behind the borders, there are rebellions that happen with Gryphons. They're a different type of being that can also fly, and you can also mentally connect to them and stuff. In Nevada, they have set these borders that are magically strengthened so that these rebels can't, attack. But there's more to this story, obviously, that we'll get to later. Also, in this world, you basically connect with dragons mentally, like I already mentioned. And once you do that, you also get access to certain powers that you can channel. But the power that you get, your signet, is based on who you are as a person, in a way. So that was interesting, I think. And yeah, this whole, book is centered around Violet Sorrengail. She's the daughter of General Sorrengail. Her father was a scribe, and Violet was training her entire life to become a scribe too, just like her dad, because supposedly she has weak bones. She's kind of like sickly a little bit. I don't know, she's very fragile in that physical sense. So it just made sense for her to become a scribe, and she also really likes books. She likes the library, so that was just perfect for her. But her father died, supposedly because his heart got broken when his son died. His son died in an attack, in a rebellion or something like that. We don't know, the specifics, I guess. And yeah, that was really sad for Violet. Now she's left just with her mom and her sister, Mira, who is a really protective sister. She cares for her. And we can basically just start off by saying that, that this story starts when Violet kind of enters her mother's office. We learn that she does not want to be a dragon rider. Obviously she wants to be a scribe. And Mira's there too. She's like fighting for Violet in the sense that she wants to convince her mom to not send her essentially to the stupid war college. So what did you think of that? Of the whole thing that her mom basically wanted to get her daughter killed?
Oh my god. Yeah, her mom is a psychopath, and that's actually a part of the story that I like, because that was actually interesting how like messed up her family is. Yeah, her mom was giving me like this sort of moms who like send their kids into the ballet or something, and they're like, no daughter of mine will not be like a, I don't know, Miss Universe or something, except that it's for dragons. And like, she doesn't care that that's not what Violet wants at all, and that she's not physically capable of it. It's like she's just like, she'd rather have a dead daughter than a daughter who is like not riding a dragon. And yeah, like there's nothing Violet could have done. But even in this chapter, like Violet is either lying to herself a little bit, or not thinking it through, because she keeps telling us and herself that she doesn't want to be a writer, she wants to be a scribe, but then like Mira says something like, yeah, like don't send her there, like she's fragile, she'll not handle it. And she's like, how dare you say I won't handle it? So like part of her, either she actually wants it deep down, or she just wants to stick it to everybody who tells her she won't be able to do it. So that's like a streak in Violet. She just like wants to prove people wrong and go and do it. And I don't think she's been truthful from the start of wanting to be a scribe. But honestly, like from the descriptions of like scribes, of like writers, I remember like Mira said something like, do you want to die a scribe or do you want to live as a dragon rider? And I was just reminded of that scene in the Barbie movie where the Barbie has to choose between a Birkenstock and a high heel. And I was like, yep, scribe, that one, send me there. So I want anything to do with those dragons.
Oh my god, yeah, good one. I let's just, if I focus on the mom first, she intrigued me a little bit because, yeah, in one way, it felt like she was aware of how fragile her daughter is, that, you know, she's not meant for these kinds of things. But on the other hand, once Mira left her office, she told Violet something in the sense of, you're very smart, you've known and understood pain your entire life, so you'll survive. Because how many of these people can claim the same, you know? They don't know what pain is, but you live through it every day. So on one hand, it felt like she thought she was weak, but on the other hand, it felt like she actually believed in her daughter. Like she saw something that maybe other people didn't. And that was interesting because I have like a little bit of a theory that her mom isn't as bad as everyone thinks, that maybe she's kind of working behind the scenes to actually help people and stuff. I don't know, because why would she say that? It was just such a little thing that I noticed, and we'll see if that pans out in the future.
I don't know. I'm more inclined to think she's worse than we think, because all the plot twists that came in the end and all the information that the general population has no idea about. But
exactly. So like,
yeah.
it's so interesting that she married a husband who obviously thought different. You know, he like, we know of the message that he left for Violet. He knew of the Vinin and the Wyverns and everything. So I don't know, is it really that impossible to believe that maybe she also is working on the good side secretly and trying to sabotage the whole system from within? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here. I don't like the woman in this book, don't get me wrong, I really despised her. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe she's a little bit more complex than what we know of her for now. And then on the other hand, there's Mira, who I liked. I liked the fact that they have such a cute sister relationship. I loved how, you know, she gave her the boots and she also gave her the armor that was made out of her dragon's scales. That was so nice and so, I mean, such a good thing that she gave her that. And yeah, she really prepared her. Yeah, I also found it kind of funny that no one thought of the boots. Like, not one other student thought that maybe they need better boots or something, you know, because when Violet, at the beginning, she meets Rhiannon, right? And this other boy that I forgot the name of because he dies soon after. And they both had shitty boots, and Violet was very nice and kind, and she was like, I'll give you one of my boots, you know, let's trade. Which I thought was nice. It kind of showed that Violet at her core is a selfless character. And yeah, what happened then? She met someone intriguing.
She did meet someone intriguing. Yeah. So what do you think?
What do you want to say about that? Oh, you're asking me first.
Yeah, I want to know your opinion on our love interest in this book.
Oh, I don't know. Once Mira told her about Xaden, how he's the son of this rebellion leader and how his father, was the one who killed their brother, and that she has to stay away from him, essentially, that he's gonna try to kill her. I was just immediately, okay, love interest, yeah, she's gonna fall in love with this dude. And then when she sees him and he's like basically described as a Greek god, I like that. I dig that, visual. But yeah, I don't know what I think, honestly. I thought, you know what I thought? I didn't think this was an enemies to lovers story. How to explain this? Enemies to lovers, I want them to actually be enemies. You know what I mean? And here, it didn't feel like they were enemies. Like at the beginning, okay, he stated some things. She said, "Are you gonna kill me?" And he was like, "Why would I kill you? The parapet is gonna do it for me," something like that. And he was just all words. But every single time there was like a fight between them, when there was a chance for him to actually show how much he hates her, he would actually help her. So, this guy, I just knew it from the beginning. He's not evil. He doesn't hate her. There's probably some ulterior motive behind him. And it was just kind of like Reese and Akotar, when, the guy is supposedly bad, but then you realize that it was all a facade. And it felt like this with Zayden. It was a facade. And I don't like that. It isn't complex to me that he's not actually a gray character. He's just a white character. He's like legit just good. But he pretended that he's bad. I don't like that. I want him to be a little bad. You know what I mean? If it's an enemies to lover story and if this is supposedly this kind of a morally gray complex character, because he's not morally gray to me anymore. He's legit just a good person. And that's it.
Oh, true. I wanted to get into how I don't believe they were ever enemies. And yeah, like you mentioned now that he pretended to be bad. Can I ask something? Because I am not sure if I am overthinking it or if I am not getting something. Because to me, the way that Zayden, God, I hate this name, let's not even get into it, acts in the beginning of the book makes absolutely zero sense with what we find out later about his character, right? Because at the beginning, like, sure, there's like multiple times where he helps her or he's like, oh yeah, that scary thing is going to like kill you for me, so I don't need to do anything, right? So, like, we can kind of tell that he's not actually planning to kill her. He doesn't, like, want to do anything bad. But for some reason, he has this, like, tough guy act on. Like, he's at least trying to convince, like, the general population around him that he's evil, that he will try to kill her. And that's what everyone around Violet is telling her, right? Now, here is why I am lost at how this makes absolutely any sense. Because later in this book, we find out that the reason why any of the rebellion kids are actually there, it's because Zayden is the son of the leader of the rebellion, and he made like a pact to send all of those 100 and something kids to the academy to give them like a chance to live. I keep calling it academy, I think it's college, but whatever. But if any of those children of the rebels like ever rebel, like, ever do anything against the government, they're going to kill him. So that's his responsibility. Like he's thinking about this literally all the time. That's his main motivation, right? So his main motivation should be that like none of those rebellion children, including him, ever give off the vibe that they're not happy with this government, that they want to do something to hurt this government. So why the hell does he spend the majority of the beginning of the book acting like he wants to kill Violet? Shouldn't he be like, oh no, we're having so much fun here and we totally don't hate the daughter of the leader and no one's gonna kill her. Like, that should be how he acts, right? Like, even if he actually ever hated her, which I don't think he did, but even then he should have acted like he's this, like, angel who is never going to do anything bad. Like, because all of those kids are on the line. He's, like, a mentor. That's his whole thing. And, like, he could lose his life if anyone suspects him of rebellion. So what am I missing here?
I mean, I think it's just that everyone else, all the other kids, that are also rebellion offspring, they hate her because it's hard not to hate her since, her mom was responsible for their parents' deaths. So I think that's just his way of kind of convincing them to just chill, to just leave it, that he's the one that's gonna do it eventually, just so that they lay back, because he's not actually gonna do anything, but they might. So he wants to kind of protect everyone by pretending that he's gonna eventually kill her and that he's trying to torture her. And you know what I'm trying to say here? It's like they might do something, but he won't. He won't, just in general also because he's actually friends with her brother. We find out that Brennan is alive at the end of the book. So Brennan probably told him, like, keep my baby sister safe. So I feel like the entire book, when he was just like, oh, I want to kill you and stuff, he was always just pretending, also because of Brennan. He's aware that not all Sorrengails are bad, right? I mean, he's friends with a Sorrengail, so he knows that, and he gives her the benefit of the doubt. Also, the moment he meets her, he notes that she gave one boot to Rhiannon. And I think Xaden's pretty smart. You know, he probably noticed that she's not maybe this evil bitch person like her mom is, that she might be more like her brother.
I agree with you there that I don't believe that he truly wanted to kill her from the start. However, I do believe that all the rebel kids are aware of the deal and know the situation.
Yeah, I know, but that's...
that anyone falls out of line, he's gonna die. So...
I don't know. I think it's more of because it's an emotional kind of thing. You know, this is the child of the woman who killed your parents. Also, this war college is crazy. I mean, you see that they are allowed to kill each other. Like if Xaden, I think, killed her, or if any of the kids killed her, you know, this is, I think, the most important part. No one would blink. Like, they wouldn't be like, oh, she was Sorrengail's daughter. Even like her mom, before she went into the college, stated pretty much that she's her general now. She's not her mom. So she won't protect her. She won't defend her. She's basically on her own. So if she died, it would be like just a statement of how weak she is. You know, like, if you die, that means you're weak. So you're not good enough for a dragon. I mean, that's literally the logic of this world, which is stupid. And it's not just about Xaden. Like, I mean, if you think logically, everyone should be sucking up her ass. She's General Sorrengail's daughter. While Jack basically just tries to kill her the moment he realizes who she is. That made zero sense. I would have thought he would be like, you know, avoiding her in the minimum, not trying to kill her since her family is so important. And why is everyone, like, just in general, it feels so stupid to underestimate her. Like, fairly at the beginning, you realize how intelligent she is. But I don't know, it's like they're just raised in this way, I suppose, that it's like drilled into their heads that if you're not physically strong and capable, you're just not strong at all. It's like they're not aware that there are different types of strengths that can come in handy when it comes to battles and politics and everything.
Yeah, no, of course. The society is fucked up with a fucked up leadership and a judicial system that makes no sense, so... I agree with you there, absolutely. I do want to point out that at the beginning, there were a couple of chapters where Xaden and Violet are like on their own and he's still talking to her without any, you know, rebel kids present or whatever, implying that he's like still deliberating whether, you know, she'll live or die. Like, for example, here in chapter 10, he says, "You want to know why you're still alive? Because you're the scale I currently judge myself against every night. Every day I let you live, I get to convince myself that there's still a part of me that's a decent person." So, like, he's just, like, telling her this, like, when they're alone, randomly. And what's the motivation behind doing that? If anything he does is considered a rebellion... Oh my god. I'm sorry, this book is breaking my brain.
I mean, when I read this, you know, I didn't so much think of what consequences there would be if, you know, he broke the law. But at the same time, like I said, you know, killing her and threatening her like that, that's not breaking any kind of a law. He could kill her and no one would do anything. You know what I mean? It's not an act of rebellion if he kills her. She's, in this case, in this college, she's just a student just like him. They're equals, you know, supposedly. And also, I don't know, when I read this, I kind of understood his motivation behind it, I guess, behind the supposed hate, because like, she was the daughter of someone who murdered his father, and his father actually was a good person, as we find out at the end. But you know what's annoying? When we realize at the end that Brennan is alive, the whole book doesn't make sense in a way, because why would he even say this if he knows Brennan? He's friends with Brennan. He's aware that not Sorrengail is evil, so he doesn't necessarily hate the offsprings of Sorrengail. So why would he say this here? It's like, was he just pretending all along? But why would he try to scare her like that then? What's the point of that if his intentions weren't bad from the start?
Exactly. Like, it doesn't matter which way you really look at it. The fact that he tried to present himself as this evil guy who's just looking for a chance to kill Violet makes no sense in basically any interpretation of the events. You're right. And yeah, about the brother that he knew that he was alive the whole time, I am so disappointed in Xaden, because, he's been growing closer and closer to this woman throughout the entire year. He was helping her survive. He was in love with her, supposedly. And, like, he's seen her grieve her brother's death. He seen her accuse his own father of murdering him, right? And he kept that for so long. I mean, like, I get, not trusting her with the rebellion and all of those, like, super secret plans. I don't understand how he could have kept the fact that her brother is still alive when you could see how much she grieves him. I mean, I don't know, maybe the brother requested it. Maybe that's how it happened, but I was still quite, like, sad for Violet in that moment.
Yeah, when you think about it like that, it is sad for Violet, but I understood Xaden's decisions in regards to this whole, the fact that he kept everything a secret, because essentially her brother is connected to the rebellion, and if they ever found out that he was alive, people would be suspicious, then where is he? Why is he hiding? Why did he pretend he died? There would be so many questions. Plus, we don't know what really exactly happened when he supposedly died. Maybe he was a rebel at that time too, and his mom arranged for him to be killed. Like, we don't know. So if Dane, for example, saw that when he touched Violet, everything would be jeopardized. And in this case, it's not just about Xaden and about Violet. It's about the whole world, in a way. It's about their survival, and their lives are at stake. So in the grander scheme of things, I understood him, and I didn't really blame him. I was sad for Violet when she realized, everyone kept secrets, and she was so open and vulnerable with him. She told him she loved him, she trusted him, she put her heart on the line. So in that sense, I was sad for her, because when you get to that point, when someone breaks your heart like that and just kind of destroys your trust, it's hard to ever get back from that. So I was sad for her and for them, but I understood why he didn't say anything and why he did what he did.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it was just something that, left me disappointed in Xaden at the end. If you look at it a bit more logically, then, of course, there were reasons why he couldn't say anything. So, true. But yeah, the romance to me wasn't as incredible as the hype made it out to be. I mean, I get it. I get that he's the hottest man she's ever laid her eyes on. I got it. I got it the first couple of times. Let's just say that whenever he comes into the frame, you're just having a heart attack over how hot he is. I got it. I don't need it repeated 75 more times. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I also was aware that supposedly the romance in this book was very good. I didn't get any spoilers, but just general that the romance was good. And once I kind of understood that Xaden was to be her love interest, and once I met him and everything, I was intrigued, I was intrigued by that little thing he said to her, that he doesn't need to kill her, that the Parafel, whatever, the store, I don't know what he said, that's gonna kill her. That was kind of cool. And also their interactions at the beginning were kind of nice to me, because I essentially didn't overthink it too much. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, he has reasons to dislike her. But like I said, once we get to the end, the whole thing just kind of, it doesn't make any sense anymore. But throughout the book, I didn't, hate their interactions. However, I feel like there are so many stories out there that are enemies to lovers that are just the way they're presented is so much better. The way they're written is better. Here is like they didn't even interact that much. Like this book is very long and they didn't interact at all. So that was disappointing. And for example, at the end of the book, pretty at the end, we realized that he tells her that he was super jealous of Dane when he kissed her. And for example, that would have been a really good way for the author to show us that he actually likes her. For example, Dane kisses her, she looks over her shoulder and she sees that he's looking. And is that a hint of jealousy? We don't know. You know what I mean? Just something like tidbits like that, just snippets of moments when you kind of get a feeling that he might like her a bit more. You never got that sense. We got her point of view. She obviously was very attracted to him. But from his side, we didn't get that until like very, very later on in the book. So their whole romance wasn't that well developed when we got to the point where they actually kissed. And I also didn't like the fact that they were, oh my gosh, I hated it so much, that the fact that they talked with each other in their minds.
Really?
It was a good way for them to communicate, I suppose. It was easier.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like that in Akotar either. I feel like, in this book it wasn't that bad, but I feel like in later books it might become troublesome because they'll know everything about each other and it won't be as interesting. It will just be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least here they have to actually have like a channel open, but it's the same in Akatar. So actually, yeah, never mind. You're right. But yeah, I agree with the fact that this relationship didn't really like progress naturally. I didn't get the hints of like jealousy, hints of like them liking each other, hints of them like getting over those like grievances they had with each other. No, it was like the author substituted all of that with just paragraphs upon paragraphs of Violet describing his incredibly hot muscles and then going, oh no, fuck, no, I'm supposed to hate him. And that's it. No interactions, no nothing. I want to read you something that actually got published and printed and distributed in this book that everyone loves. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is chapter 23, and it goes, I'll never get over how quickly people move on around here, how callously death is swept under a rug and trampled on minutes later. Gods, Satan looks good today. His brow slightly furrowed as he listens intently to something Lemani says, then nods. Hard to believe I had that mouth on mine last night, those arms wrapped around me. Forget second thoughts. I just want more. One after another. Unironically. Rebecca! What the hell?
Oh my god. I forgot about that. Jesus. Yeah, I'm a bit speechless, that's a good one. That's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't make much sense a lot of the times, this whole thing, and the way she repeated constantly how good he looked, because yeah, we got it. And we don't need that repeated that much. Like the way the character acts, he can be very seductive in the things he says, he does, the way he looks at you, those kinds of things are the things that make a character sexy, not exactly the fact that he's tall, dark, and handsome. That's a bonus. Plus, in general life, when you meet someone, he can be the most beautiful man in the world, but if he doesn't know how to speak to you, if there's nothing there, no chemistry, then that it doesn't matter now, does it?
Yeah, true. It's like his hotness overrode every other thought in Violet's brain. And also, that's so true. There's so many ways to present a love interest as attractive and the protagonist as being very attracted without just repeating over and over and over the physical description. Like, she could have wrote that, like, Violet, I don't know, her heart started beating faster, or that she, stumbled on her words, or couldn't stop looking at him. There are so many ways to just, like, show what the character is feeling without just telling us. Like, when it something gets told that many times in books, I circle back to thinking it's a lie. Like, nobody needs to convince me of something that hard if it's the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I agree. I agree. It was too much. It was over the top. It could have been like substituted with something that would make more sense, that would resonate with us more. But that's not to say that he wasn't seductive. Like he definitely knew how to talk to her, what to say, how to tease her and stuff like that. He did know that, but the fact that she just repeated how hot he was every sentence, that kind of destroyed that a little bit,
Yeah.
And I liked Zayden as a character. Honestly, I didn't hate him. I was intrigued by him. I wanted to know more, even though some of his actions didn't make sense, like you explained before. But I was still kind of interested, So I guess I'm just afraid for the next books that he's gonna become this Mr. Perfect. Because listeners, if you haven't listened to our Akotar podcast episodes, I really didn't like that about Rysand. In the first 2 books, he felt interesting. He felt morally gray. He felt like he was this, bad boy, but not that bad kind of a guy. But then essentially he became Mr. Perfect from Farah's point of view. And that was just too much for me. And I'm kind of afraid that the same thing is going to happen to Zayden, that he's just going to be from this point on just perfect. And I don't like that. It's not interesting to me.
No, I get what you mean. I mean, for me, after reading this whole book, I left confused. I don't even have like a real good opinion of Zayden because I don't think we really got to know him that well, because now that we see his actions in the beginning with all the information we know now, we're left confused about why he's doing the things he's doing, why he's thinking the things he's thinking. God, so yeah, I'm just sort of disappointed. I don't know, he could have been so much more interesting than he is. That's my opinion. I don't know. And he also wasn't that seductive to me either. I mean, sure, okay, you know what? Okay, fine, I believe he's hot. To me, he wasn't that seductive. Like, he came up with the dumbest nickname for Violet. I hated that nickname, by the way. It was like if man called me lasagna, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so attractive. Oh, hello. We're supposed to be in our 20s, by the way. What?
No, stop it. You're hearing me. Lasagna. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Whew. Yeah, okay. That nickname didn't do it for me either. It was just, I didn't feel it. Eventually, I kind of got used to it. I was like, okay, we're doing it. Fine. But then there was like this tender moment between them. I don't remember what it was, but he said, Violence, let me just convince you. And I was like, no, in tender moments, you say Violet. You say her name because it's supposed to be tender. So violence doesn't make sense. Okay, fine. It was like, I don't know, sweetie, my love, or something that's tender, I suppose. But violence isn't cute and tender. So, yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is like when, in a love story, like a character has a nickname that the love interest is constantly calling them. And then, like, at a very tender moment, they just go with the name. And that could have been so effective, even if the nickname is this bad. It would have been so effective if he only called her Violet when it was, like, really, really heartfelt.
Yeah,
okay.
That's true. But I did, for example, like their moment when they were fighting in the ring, when he tried to train her. Again, I mean, I didn't like it when I think logically of it because, they're supposed to be enemies to lovers. So why wouldn't he like embarrass her or something? I didn't want him to beat the shit out of her, for example, because how could I ever go back from there? But just like, I don't know, embarrass her a little bit, show that you're supposedly enemies. But instead he kind of taught her stuff. He taught her how to protect herself. But at that point I was like, okay, that's nice, because no one actually was teaching her anything. Dane was supposedly her friend, and he just insisted on her running away instead of actually studying and teaching how to protect herself or anything. He was just, oh my gosh, we'll get to Dane. But yeah, I like that little fight they had in the ring. I thought it was really cool because she had all of these knives on her that she kind of earned from other fights. And he kind of just took all of those knives away, and then he pinned her to the ground. And I always, in these kinds of books, I always really like these kinds of settings. Like, I know they're a bit repetitive, but I never get bored of them. I find them to be interesting and hot, and I like, scenes where they fight and learn stuff. It reminded me a little bit of Four and Tris and Divergent. A lot of instances in this book reminded me of Tris and Four. Of Divergent, I suppose.
I agree with you there. I feel like a lot of this book was A Court of Thorns and Roses inspired. A lot of it was Divergent inspired. We got some Hunger Games with pupils just killing each other for no logistical reason. Right, we got some Game of Thrones with the dragons. Like, we got some Red Queen with, like, how the main character looked and her power. So, this book was 5 books put into a blender and then presented as something new. And people love that on TikTok. So, I'm happy for the people that love that on TikTok.
That's a good description, definitely. I just want to mention another thing that I suppose I liked in the book. When I mentioned at the beginning that Violet didn't feel always super immature to me. And for example, this is one of those instances. I'll just read from the book. Just a second. Okay. Example. But here's the thing. I hold his gaze knowing he could bolt at any second. You don't get to dictate how I feel. You might give the orders there, but not in here. You don't get to tell me we can fuck, but I can't fall for you. That's not fair. You can only respect what I choose to do. So we're not doing this again until I want to risk my heart. And if I fall, then that's my problem, not yours. You're not responsible for my choices. So in this sense, I thought she was very mature. I was afraid that when he told her that they can fuck, but they're not supposed to fall for each other, I was afraid that she's gonna just eat that up and be like, yeah, okay, that's fine by me. And we would get this inner monologue about how she'll at least get something, if not everything, and that's good enough for her. And we would get then the miscommunication trope, and then eventually she would get angry at him and she would resent him for it. And I loved that we didn't get that here in this book. She was so open with him and she was so honest, and she just told him how it is, and I love that. And eventually, when, she decided that she will trust him and that even if her heart gets broken, fine, it's her decision, I love that too. I loved how open she was. We don't normally get that. And also when they had their first sex scenes, that was also really cool because she was very confident. She was like, you're mine, and she was the first one to say that and stuff, and that's very rare when it comes to female heroines. It's usually the other way around. So in that sense, I really did like Violet. Oh my God, Violet. I wanted to say violence, and then I was like violent, Oh my God, okay. So in that sense, I liked her, and I also liked her with Dane because she also put him in his place, and I'm going to read a line about that later when we speak about him.
Okay, yeah. Also, I'm really happy you brought up this scene because I also wanted to talk about it. I think was my favorite moment of Violet in the whole book.
Same.
I actually do think that she acted so maturely here. I was just like, thank God. Yeah, so I was truly happy with that moment that she, could communicate like that and actually, put herself first and not fall for that bullshit that Zeta was trying to pull. So I really, really like that from her. Yeah, about Dane. We could go into that plot situation.
We could. Oh my gosh, we could. I don't know if we should, but yeah. Oh my. I love, by the way, one follower on Instagram. She commented on one of our reels and she said that she calls Dane Drain. And I was like, girl, that's so good. Dane Drain, He's so draining. It's not even funny. I mean, at first, I didn't really care much about him, to be honest, from the beginning, but I didn't hate him. I understood he was her childhood best friend. He was aware that physically she was fragile. So I understood him wanting to protect her. He was also aware that she was trained to be a scribe. So it made sense for him to try to get her to the scribe part of the college. But yeah, eventually he just got on my nerves because... Geez, she proved herself. After she got her 2 dragons, instead of being like, oh my gosh, great, he was like, wait, you got 2, okay, if you have to choose the smaller one. And I'm like, what? Why are we talking about this right now? And why would you think she has to choose? And then he didn't even believe in her, by the way. He didn't believe that the two dragons would choose her. He thought that Xaden somehow set this up because his dragon was mated to her dragon. So I was just, this is beyond me. I mean, we're all aware that dragons don't, like, they make their own decisions. They don't listen to humans. If Xaden told Sgale to, tell that to Taryn, she wouldn't have listened, and neither would he. He chose her on his own. So the fact that this guy just belittles her all the time, I cannot stand this man. Yeah, the floor is yours now for a second. I need to breathe.
Okay, take your time, but, well, I am also quite infuriated by him, so you're not alone here. Well, sure, at the beginning, we can tell that this is a friend, this is a concerned friend. He knows that, she has a disability. By the way, did you get that this was a representation of a real disability that exists? Like, Violet's condition?
I kind of figured, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I kind of got that might be, I don't know, maybe the author wanted it that way, maybe not, but like the fact that it's not immediately obvious, maybe it would have been better if it was a little bit obvious, but like, I don't know, I'm not an expert on the subject. But sure, like, Day is aware of that, he's aware of like what life is like in the Rider Squadron, so... and that this is not something that his best friend wants or ever wanted. So, of course, he does what he assumes that she wants and, like, tries to get her out. But, then Violet is like, fuck no, I'm staying. And, like, at that point, best friend who is not condescending and self-involved and thinks he knows better than everybody on the planet would go, you know what, we're best friends. I support you no matter what. If you need anything, let me know, but I'm just here for you and I'm letting you do your own choices because I know that you're smart and capable. And that's it. But that is absolutely not how he treated her. He treated her like shit. And that was also so sad to read from Violet's point of view because, you said that she, put him in his place. I didn't get that. I got like her defending him over and over and over and over again. And, of course, that's your best friend. Of course, you don't want to lose someone like that. You want to make excuses for him. But at some point, I truly, I wished for Violet to just stand up and do something. She did eventually, but I wished she'd do it sooner because she did not deserve to get treated like that over and over and over. So I was so, cheering so hard for her when she finally stood up and went, you know what, you don't get to control me. I get to make decisions. You told me that this college will show who I really am, and who I really am is someone who can fucking stand you, or something. She said something like that, right? So I was like, thank God, maybe he'll finally get it. And then, in the very next scene, where they see each other again, the last thing that Violet said to him was like, fuck you, I don't want to be friends with you anymore, essentially. The next time they meet is after the attack on Violet in her room. First thing this motherfucker says to her is, why didn't you tell me? I wanted to strangle him.
Oh.
Just saying.
Yeah, same.
Take a hint. Take a hint. My God.
Let's not mention the fact that once he realized that Amber, the wing leader, was the one who orchestrated it, he didn't believe her and he wanted to read her mind without her permission. So,
yes.
And Xaden, for example, he believed her immediately. Why would she lie about that shit? Oh my gosh, the man, the nerve on him. And also when he, when he kissed her, and then the next day he kind of came by and he was like, yeah, we can't be together because, of the rules. And I just wanted to throw up and I was like, oh my gosh, read the room. She doesn't want to be with you and that's it. Regardless of the rules. But in her head, she was like, okay, fine, I'll take it just as long as, we're on the same page, at least about not being together. And the one thing that you mentioned before, I just want to read it. This is when she puts him in his place. Mm-hmm. And I know she kind of took it a little bit. I'm not saying that she didn't, when I said that she put him in his place, because she did eventually, and when she needed to, she did. But she kind of gave him chances, yeah, because he was her brother in a way. So I understood giving him the benefit of the doubt since he's kind of family. But I was just glad that it didn't, continue until the very end. Like in the middle of the book, she kind of did put him in his place, and it was when she said this. So this place cuts away the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. I repeat his words from the summer. Isn't that what you said to me? Is this who you really are at your core? Someone so enamored with rules that he doesn't know when to bend or break them for someone he cares about. Someone so focused on the least I'm capable of doing, he can't believe I can do so much more. And then she says, let's get one thing straight, Dane. I take a step closer, but the distance between us only widens. The reason we'll never be anything more than friends isn't because of your rules. It's because you have no faith in me. Even now, when I've survived against all odds and bonded not just one dragon but two, you still think I won't make it. So forgive me, but you're about to be some of the bullshit that this place cuts away from me. I love that so much. It was like, again, one of my favorite moments of Violet. Just being straight up real and honest, and it was such a mic drop moment. I loved her for it.
True. Everything that she said was absolutely deserved. The only thing that is infuriating for me is that Dane chose to ignore every single word of it. Is he that self-absorbed or what? It's like he chose to completely ignore that she said any of it and then be acting absolutely the same in the next scene we've seen him. And I'm not saying that this is bad writing or anything. I think he was on purpose that infuriating. So
yeah,
good job on that. Yeah, there were so many moments where he got on my nerves. And I think actually that even with her standing up to him a couple of times, his behavior kind of continued, or he, improved a little bit. But still, even at the end, I think he was overprotective. And even at the end, Violet was still like, oh, stop, give him a chance. And God, I want to support Violet here, but I'm like, no, cut him off. Tell him to go away. You don't deserve that. I mean, I get that it's hard, but that's just how I felt as a reader.
Yeah, I know. I mean, in her head, his intentions were pure. He loved her and he wanted to keep her safe. I mean, I'm glad she told him off when she needed to, but she just kind of tried to understand because, I mean, who did she have left really? Just Mira and Dane in a way. They were like the two people in her life that were there since she was a child. The only two people. Brennan was gone. Her mom was a monster. Her dad was gone. So I understand wanting to keep that familiarity close to you. But of course, I was also infuriated. I was also just cut him off, exactly. And, when he also pissed me off a lot, the moment she killed Jack with her, powers, and then Dane kind of rushed to her and he tried to console her. And he was like, you don't ever have to use that power again. You don't have to. And then Xaden came and he was like, stop coddling her. Stop telling her such stupid shit. Because this, when he said this, he basically said, you're a monster. Your power is monstrous. You don't need to be a monster. While Xaden was like, no, you embrace it. You embrace your feelings. You embrace what you're feeling in this moment and deal with it. And it's okay. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay. And that's what she needed to hear. Not telling her that she never needs to use it again when it's obviously a lie. I mean, she's supposed to be a soldier in this war. Of course she's going to use it again. I mean, it's going to be needed. It's a necessity, essentially. Who are you kidding? And also, he told Xaden, at one point, he told him, oh yeah, you just want her to be a murderer like you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to be winged leader. Do you think you'll never kill anyone? Do you think you won't become a murderer? And Xaden responded exactly like what I'm saying right now, that, if you ever want to be a winged leader, you have to understand that murder is never easy, but sometimes it's necessary. And it sounds harsh, it sounds awful, but that's the reality that they live in. That's the reality they live in. Just accept it and stop being a hypocrite. I mean, at the end, we realized that he basically invaded her mind. He saw things that he shouldn't have. And he's talking about what? Morality? Bitch, please.
No. Yeah, I mean, true. It feels to me like there is an ulterior motive to how he's manipulating her. Like, he spends the entire book like trying to manipulate her into either leaving the writer's quadrant or not reaching the full potential of her powers. And it kind of like left, the level where it could have been like a concerned friend doing it from like the goodness of his heart. Like, now I believe like he has some sinister motive. Maybe we'll get something like that in the next book, because he truly just like is acting like he's evil. Like, I don't know. And yeah, it kind of...
Yeah, you know what I think? I think that he genuinely wants to protect Violet, but I think that he knows what's going on in reality with the Wyvern and everything. And he's aware that if she ever finds this out, she's gonna not be with them. She's gonna be against them, because he knows her so well, I think. So I feel like in that sense, he kind of wants her to get out of the way and also protect her, because he's aware that the Wyverns are actually a thing. So I don't think he's sinister in regards to Violet. I think he's sinister just in general. But also, like, oh my gosh, the ending, when he tried to convince her to stay at the end, when Xaden wanted to recruit her to go with him because it was essentially a trap, and they knew that. And he was like, I will miss you. So when he said that, I knew that that was a trap, because he was just trying so hard to convince her not to go. I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, these are just supposedly games. So if she goes there, who cares? So I knew immediately it was a trap, and he knew too. But the fact that he didn't do anything, I mean, you're right in that sense, because like he didn't do anything. He was aware that it was a trap, that they would probably all die, and he was just like, I'll miss you.
That's the thing. He will always confirm the rules. He will not do anything that goes against the rules, and it doesn't matter if morally that makes sense. And that is a realization that Violet came to very early in the book, like when she, put him in his place, like you said. She told him word for word that she believes he'll never break a single rule, even if that's morally correct. So it annoyed me so much when we get to the end of the book, and she finds out about Wyvern and Benning, shocker, and then she's like, oh wait, but they would never let our enemies, get attacked by those evil creatures. Like, he wouldn't let innocent people suffer just because it's against the rules. Yeah, no, he would. You know that. You've already came to the realization that you know that. Oh my god, I'm sorry if this is all over the place, but this is my sort of problem with Violet. It's how many times we were told that she is smart, that she is cunning, that she is the most intelligent person in this quadrant. And don't get me wrong, there were absolutely times where she was that. I love all of her thinking outside of the box. I love her coming up with all of those creative decisions, like poisoning everyone, awesome, like climbing like this challenge in her own way, like that was smart. So those were all examples of her acting smart, acting intelligent. She knows lots of facts about the world. That's also another instance of her being intelligent. However, there are also so many moments in this book where she was written as having this like huge revelation about something, like either about the world or her relationships or something important. And I was like, wait, didn't we like find this out a couple of chapters ago already? Like, that's what kills me in this book. I mean, I swear to God, like, we know that she's attracted to Xaden from the very start of the book. For example, she says at some points that she wants to climb him like a tree. And then it takes her until chapter 20 to be like, it finally hits me. I want Xaden. Like, yeah, did you not hear your own internal monologue? Like, we know this. We know that you want him. That's not a revelation. Oh my God. And then also with that book of fairy tales that she has, personally, I got that this was important from the start. I knew that it would come up later from the start, and then when she went to the library and her friend like went to find it and then came back and went like, yeah, well, we don't have it, I'm sorry. And then Violet basically thought, that's strange, that's weird. The only books that don't exist in this library are the ones that are like super illegal. I wonder why this book isn't here. That's interesting. Anyway, and that's it. No thoughts after that. Zero. Back to just explaining how hot Zayden is for the next 44 chapters. And then, like, she also finds the letter that her dad wrote in the book, right? And the letter is basically just her dad going, hey, fairy tales are important, wink wink, nudge nudge. And she reads it and it's just like, whatever. And then at the end, she's like, I cannot believe that Vanian exists, that Vivern exists. That's such a revelation. Who could have thought? You could have thought. You had access to all the same clues that I did, and you could have looked for more. And that's like every single time we got one of those little breadcrumbs of the plot, I thought that like finally we're going to get like this smart, cunning, intelligent character, like putting all of those pieces together, investigating, like looking for something. Like all of those times in like Battle Brief where things were adding up and shit. And she thought about it for like one paragraph, came to no conclusions, and went on with her day. And I just wanted for plot to happen so badly. And it's not like any of this was this hard to put together. Like, I put it together. And I'm supposed to believe that she is the most intelligent person in this quadrant? Is everyone else a fucking dumbass then? Like, what's going on?
Okay, I'm gonna to respond to these points one by one.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. These are like really good points. I think in regards to Zayden, you know, at one point, yeah, she said she wants to climb him like a tree, and then it's the relation, oh, I want Zayden. That's a good point, but I read it as like, you know, like when you talk to your friends and you're like, oh, I will climb him like a tree because he's so hot. And you like to kind of say that in a joking way, but you don't actually mean it. And I feel like in that moment, you know, for example, when she said, I want Zayden, it's like she literally accepted it. It's one thing saying it, thinking it for like a little second there and actually meaning it and be like, oh my gosh, I literally want this guy who's supposed to be my enemy. What is wrong with me? You know, someone that she's not supposed to want. So I read it like that. So it didn't like hit me in the same way it hit you. It made sense to me. But then, yeah, then in regards to your second point, I understood that her thoughts wouldn't necessarily immediately go to a whole conspiracy. You know, I would also think, okay, maybe it's just a mistake or something that it's not here. Maybe, I don't know, someone borrowed it. I wouldn't think of, oh my gosh, yeah, these monsters from fairy tales are actually real. You know, that's not the thing where your mind drifts to immediately. It doesn't sound very rational. But I didn't like that, yeah, she didn't think a bit more about it. You know, her inner monologue, that one sentence, and then it was just gone. They changed subject. And I didn't like that part. You know, I would at least want a paragraph of her thinking about this or something. And then once she got the note from her father, that didn't make sense to me, yeah. Because, like, we know from the book that illegal books are not supposed to be in the library. And your father is literally telling you that you should believe in fairy tales or something like that. So if you put two and two together, it's obvious what the answer is. So I kind of hoped that after she got the note that she would have understood. And like you said, that after that we would get an investigation going. That would be so much fun and the plot would be more interesting, you know, because most of the plot was just about this college and about fighting, and even that wasn't... The plot wasn't as good as it could have been, especially since the book is so long.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't know how subjective this opinion of mine was, because you know me, I don't like physical activity, so I was like, is it just because I'm reading about something I wouldn't particularly enjoy doing? Or is it like going on for too long and it's boring? I was questioning that. But true, of course, just like this one sentence from a librarian probably wouldn't have made her think, oh my gosh, those evil monsters are real. However, if she like then thought about the only books that aren't in the library are like extremely rare or extremely illegal, an intelligent character in my mind would go, so why is this book so rare and so illegal? Are there other books that are rare and illegal? Where can I find them? What kind of similarities do they have? Like, why is the government trying to prevent me from finding out about it? You know, maybe it's not monsters. Maybe it's, you know, something about the magic. Maybe there's a secret code in there. There could be so many possibilities. And the fact that it just like goes over her head, it was just so sad. And well, if she wasn't described as this like cunning, intelligent person so many times, it probably wouldn't have gotten on my nerves that much. But when there's plot points that I thought that we were already meant to solve them as readers, and then a couple of chapters later, it's shown as this incredible thing that Violet is having this revelation. I was like, girl, I don't like it. There was also like this part at the very end where Liam, my favorite character in this book is Liam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He slays the Venin and the wyvern that the Venin was riding on, like fell to the floor and died immediately. So I read that and I was like, oh cool, killing Venin means like the wyvern dies. Okay, cool. So then I kept reading this entire battle scene with this information in my head. And then it took Violet until the next chapter to come to the same realization. So was maybe just like not written well, I don't know. But like it kept annoying me that I kept figuring out stuff before the most intelligent character in the book. Ugh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I mean, I also realized that killing the venom meant killing the wyverns, but I thought Violet figured it out immediately. I wasn't even aware that she needed time to do that. Shit. Yeah, okay. All of your points are very, very good. It is true. I mean, I still never thought of her as not intelligent. I still thought of her as intelligent and cunning because of the times that she was. You know, I kind of focused on those times more instead of the times that she didn't realize stuff. You know, I wanted to be positive, you know, so like I said, I liked how she poisoned those people. I liked how, you know, she thought of the solution in the gauntlet with her little knives. And also how she just stood up for herself when it came to times with Xaden and with Dane. And also to Amber. By the way, I love that moment in the gauntlet when Amber, the wing leader, was like, you cheated. And she just literally quoted the codex to her. That was such a mic drop moment again. You know, I love these little mic drop moments that she does. And she has a lot of them. So that's why I still liked her. I still thought that she was intelligent and brave and all of that. And also when Amber, she told her, you think like a scribe, and it was meant as an insult, but Violet was like, I know. And I love that, you know, that she wasn't ashamed of that. She didn't feel the need to be ashamed of the fact that she was smart. Like, who should feel like that? But they tried to make her feel that way. And I love that she just didn't, that she was very strong characteristically, you know. So yeah, regardless of the fact that I also understood things a lot faster than she did, sadly, I didn't blame her that much for that. Again, I blamed the writer, you know, the author, because she really wanted this to be such a big thing at the end of the book that she just made Violet, as a consequence, a little bit more stupid than she actually was. So I didn't blame Violet. I just blamed the author in that sense and poor writing.
True. I do agree with you that it's poor writing. Well, it reads to me like, you know, Rebecca came up with those few scenes, few moments for Violet to really show her intelligence and show her cunning. And in those moments, Rebecca like really thought through like what needs to happen and like what kind of rules can she like bend and what can she like, how can she outsmart her opponents. So Rebecca like thought about all of those things, and that was awesome. But other parts of the book fall short of that good writing. And you know, you need this for the final scene. If normal readers can like guess your plot twist before your main character does, that's sad. And like, as you said, she could have, you know, gone on this investigation. She could have like gotten like little crumbs or something. Like, there were opportunities to present her as smart in those moments, and I felt like maybe this book needed a little bit more time to be written, because like some of those things just weren't thought through enough, in my point of view.
That's true. I wish the crumbs were there. Sadly, they weren't, and an investigation that she would have done on her own would have been so good. And if Rebecca really, really wanted Xaden to betray her at the end, she still could have done that. Like, Violet could have done this investigation all on her own, not tell anyone about it, just because like she just feels stupid about it. She thinks that she's going insane, something like that. So Xaden would betray her, and she would still feel betrayed, because at the end of the day, he still didn't tell her. So it's still a betrayal, even if she kind of had it figured out already. So it would have made more sense like that.
Oh my god, true. She could have maybe thought that, she would reveal something to Xaden. Like, oh my god, I just discovered this fact. Like, Wyvern exists and Benin exists. And Xaden would have to be like, yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I gotta have something to tell you. Like,
that would have been cool. Fun. Yeah. And you would also be like, you would understand her still if she decided to be mad at him, because he still didn't tell her, and she did. She was the one who confronted him, and she told him about it, but he didn't tell her about it. So it would be like even worse in a way. But yeah, it didn't happen, sadly, like that. And okay, let's move on a little bit to the dragons. I really liked that scene where they had to walk next to the dragons so that they would like check them out, sniff them and stuff. And I really liked when those two dragons kind of came to her, because they smelled her sister's dragon on her. That was so cool. And yeah, that whole scene was really interesting to me. And the fact that they had to like talk to each other, so that they would kind of get a read on them, and also that they had to walk like a few, meters away from each other. That was also cool, because the dragon could incinerate someone in front of you. And, I was always so shocked by the brutality of these dragons. I know they're animals, but oh my god. And like, also at the beginning of the book, when one cadet, he tried to escape and the dragon just burned the shit out of him. I was like, what? Oh shit, I didn't realize this was gonna be so brutal, even though it was kind of explained at the beginning, but it kind of still surprised me.
Yeah, like, I loved Violet's dragons. Like, they're my favorite characters in the whole book, besides Liam.
Yeah.
They're not generally my favorite characters in this whole entire book, and they seem actually like so kind and nice and reasonable and like have like nice personalities. And I'm left thinking that those are the only two dragons in this continent that aren't huge assholes. Like, everyone else of the dragons would just like see their bonded cadet get like murdered by their peers because they want to bond, and they'll be like, yeah, this is normal. I'm gonna like choose like the person who murdered them. That was so bizarre. Like, we're truly like Taryn and Adarna the only like not psychopaths of this whole society. I don't get it.
Honestly, like, oh my gosh, like, I love the dragons too. I loved Taryn and I love Andarna, and I love the fact that the dragons were in general brutal. I dig that. But again, it doesn't make that much sense, because what? Andarna and Taryn are the only two dragons who are aware of wyverns. Why would the other dragons feel good about these monsters flying out there and killing their fellow dragons and other people? Like, it doesn't make sense that they would just be fine with that. And also, yeah, what dragon in their right mind would bond someone who murdered their rider? Like, it doesn't make sense, because you're I mentioned this at the beginning of the book, you're supposed to be team players. Dragons need team players. The dragons as a community are team players. So why would they want a rider who murders another rider instead of helps him? It doesn't make sense. Like, why? How is that logical? And also, So when the attack happened, when the 6 of them came into her room and tried to kill her, and they were like, yeah, Taryn's gonna see that I'm strong. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he picked her for a reason, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yes. But the thing is, in this world, it does make sense, because every dragon besides Taryn would be thinking that way. But strategically, logically, it's a bad move, and I don't get why their society is made that way, because true, they're just...
It also doesn't make sense that, sorry that I'm interrupting, but yeah, it also doesn't make sense to me that just Stern and just Andarno like that. Like, seriously, she's the only one that got 2 normal dragons and everyone else is shit. It's hard to, believe, and it's hard to believe that what her sister, who's a good person, I guess, got bonded to a dragon who would lie and not protect other people, and the same goes for her friends, all of their dragons are like that. I mean, for example, Liam and the rest of Zayden's gang, I suppose their dragons know about wyverns, and I suppose they decided to help because, like, I understood in this book that the dragons are the ones that are actually in charge. They're the ones, if they don't agree with something that the writer says, they're not gonna do it. It's not like, oh, yeah, you have to obey me. So supposedly their dragons probably also understand, but what? Just the rebels' dragons are the one who think that way? Like, no other dragon thought to tell their riders, oh, we are actually being attacked by wyverns. Like, let's go help. Like, not one says anything. It doesn't make sense.
Oh my gosh, I did not even think of that point. You're so correct. The more you analyze this book, the more you're just left questioning.
Yeah.
So many of the choices. And okay, maybe, the rebellion kids, dragons want to help out and they're the only ones who want to help out. But that's also a decision made by, the higher-ups that I'm left questioning. Because, I mean, first of all, personally, on a moral ground, I disagree with punishing children for, the misdeeds of their parents. So that's already fucked up. But, it's their society is like that. You can see that they're like a really brutal, fucked up society. So, of course, they're going to punish kids of these rebels. But whose idea was it to punish them by giving them access to cool superpowers and cool dragons and cool tattoos that will hide them from spying if they're in a group? And then everyone else who is not a rebel is like, what? Oh no, why are the rebels so powerful? Well, what did you expect to happen?
Honestly, that's such a good point. I didn't think of that personally. Yeah, why would they give these kids the power to rebel against them with super powerful dragons and abilities that they gain from these dragons? It was stated at the beginning of the book that they kind of hoped that the dragons would kill them off. But then again, if you know that there are wyverns out there and if dragons know this, some of them will probably want the rebels. They would probably agree with them, oh my gosh, no, the more we think about this, the more, mind blown I am right now. So,
even if, for example, you're the leadership and you don't want to just kill off those innocent kids, you want to have some sort of an excuse that, you're not the one directly killing them. Send them to the front lines. Send them to with those soldiers who know nothing what's happening and don't get special powers and are also likely to die. And just have that as a punishment. Why are they sending them to the most powerful positions? I mean, in the army as a punishment. Oh God.
Because this college is super. I mean, you see how awful it is. People murder each other. So I think most of them just thought that, for example, Zayden, he was the first one to go there. They probably thought, okay, people are gonna murder him immediately. He's the rebel. He's a lone wolf basically, but he was obviously a good fighter, and then his dragon bonded him, so it didn't go according to plans. But maybe they just assumed immediately that the kids will kill him for them.
But that's still such a risk to take.
Of course,
you could just send them to the front lines, and then the enemy will absolutely kill them.
Of course, yeah. I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here. But you're right. Okay, so in regards to also the dragons again, how fucking angry was I when Jack and his stupid 2 cronies went and tried to kill a baby, a freaking child. Are you kidding me? That also didn't make sense. You see a feather tail and you're immediately oh look, she's small and she's a weakness. How stupid can you be and think that a dragon would want to bond you after you kill a baby, after you kill another dragon, just in general, for no reason other than your own stupidity? How does that make sense again?
I mean, that part actually made sense to me for this world and for this society. Because, like, as we said, the dragon will, like, bond someone who, like, kills their previous rider, for example. So, you know, if Jack was brought up in this, like, fucked up, brutal society where he, you know, was raised to think, like, the weak ones need to be killed. Like, we know this makes no sense. Even, like, logically, if you think like a battle strategist in this book, this makes no sense. But, you know, Jack, I feel like has some problems with empathy and is also not the brightest. So, you know, he just thinks like, hey, he's probably like that insecure that he's like, I need to show everyone how strong I am and I can only do it by killing all the weak ones. Like, so that makes sense to me. I mean, he's horrible, but he makes sense to me that he is just like this like fucked up person who thinks in a really fucked up way, but that way I can see an explanation for it, at least.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it doesn't make sense to me because they are taught about it like that about humans. You know, like the weak humans. They're not supposed to go killing weak dragons. You know, dragons are supposedly here like the superior entity in a sense. They are the ones who choose. They are the ones who make the rules in a way. They are the ones who decide. It's like, you know, you can't decide for them. If the dragons think that one of their dragons is weak, they're probably gonna kill them themselves. You know, it would have made more sense for me here if Jack went and tried to kill her. When she was hiding in that tree, I was actually positive that he was looking for her. You know, that he wanted to kill her so that he would finally get rid of her. It didn't make sense that he would actually prioritize the dragon. You know, I would have thought that he would try to murder her.
No, he genuinely believes that he knows better than the dragons. He just thinks he's the smartest person in the world. The reality is that he's not. That's it.
That's true. By the way, I really liked the fight scene, you know, when he kind of ran away. That was pathetic and I loved it. And I loved how, you know, Xaden was there and I think Jack or someone said, you know, you can't interfere. And Xaden was like, yeah, but I can dictate or something, orchestrate shit. So he just kind of helped Violet by telling her, you know, who to fend off, where's Jack, where's the other one and stuff like that. So that was nice. And I liked when she kind of bonded the dragons and I mean the dragon, she didn't know she bonded the other one too. And she kind of got there. And when she went to that guy that, you know, was sealing their names in, and she told him the name of her dragon, and then Tern was like in her head, and Andarna, and he gave her her name, the full name, that's too long for me to pronounce. And she was like, wait, what? And she just said that she bonded there, the two of them, and everyone was like, what? Two? You bonded two dragons? And it was just chaos erupted, and that was such a good moment. It was a powerful moment, and it was one of those moments where you're like, yeah, fuck you all for underestimating her. And I love those moments. That was really good.
I was reading that scene and I was just thinking, just you wait, everyone, when she comes riding into the biggest, most powerful dragon. Hell yeah, you go, girl. That was actually like the scene where I finally started getting into this book. I loved her dragons. Actually, that scene was actually surprising to me because, you know, we got to the class where they were like presenting, you know, all the different dragon species. And I was like, okay, and she's probably punching like the small yellow one because, you know, that's like what we focused on. That's, you know, who like she found in the forest. So, you know, she's getting this like cute little dragon that I also want for my own so bad. I want this. Like
I wanted to
start up with like a tiny one. And then like this giant dragon shows up and, you know, is actually like, no, I'm punching you. And that I was surprised at that moment. And then like when we found out that she bonded both, that was, yeah, totally surprising. I wasn't, you know, seeing any of it coming. So good job on that. Yeah.
Okay. You know how it was like with me? Actually, I was so confused by that because the first time we get Tern is mentioned, it's in class when they talk about this big giant dragon that had a rider that saved her brother's life, and now he hasn't been seen for years or something, that he's very secluded. And Jack was like, I'm gonna bond that dragon. And in that moment, I was like, no, bitch, she is gonna bond that dragon. So I kind of knew that she was gonna bond the big one. So when the scene came that the golden small one was there, I was so confused because this small one represented her to me. That was her. It appeared to be fragile and small and weak, but maybe there's more to it. Like, there's more to her. So, I was like, okay, so this means that she's gonna bond this dragon. But then again, I was like, no, but she's supposed to bond the big dragon. I'm convinced of it. I'm sure, I'm positive. So in my head, there's like this explosion, and I didn't know what was happening. And once she kind of, fended off and protected the small dragon, I was like, oh shit, so she's gonna protect it, and then the dragon's gonna decide to bond with her, and of course she's not gonna say no. But then Tern came, and then she bonded him, and I was like, well, shit, what now? I mean, maybe it was just supposed to be a representation of her and of how brave she is and stuff, and she's gonna be probably besties with that dragon now, like, I guess, I don't know. But then when it was stated that she bonded to, it shocked me. It was such a good plot twist, in my opinion. That was a really good moment. I was so shocked. I don't know. I didn't even think that she could bond too. Like, I didn't even think of that possibility, but I was aware that it was probably one of them. So, yeah.
I love them both, though.
Yeah, I love them both too. And Darna's so adorable, like, so cute. I want one. There's also like this one Zayden situation that I really liked, when Zayden was like, they were kind of in a fight with Violet. They were in the gym, and Zayden was annoyed because she wasn't wearing her armor. And then Dane came by and he was like, can you stop harassing her? And Zayden said something along the lines of, you choose the oddest times to defend her and the most convenient times not to. Oh, that was such a good line, because seriously, like, she's having a little bit of an argument with Zayden and you decide to step in. And when she's literally being murdered by a wing leader, you're like, no, it's fine. Are you kidding? This guy, like, this scene just, I like the scenes with Zayden and Dane because, like you said, Violet, she needed a little bit of time to put Dane in his place. While Zayden, he did that constantly. He literally he was so sarcastic with him. He just saw right through him. And I love that. I love that about him. And I love that, Dane was suffocating her by the way he was trying to protect her, while Zayden was protecting her by teaching her things. So, two different kind of contrasts. I love it.
Violet was supposed to be, I don't know, like, I understand that this is her best friend, so of course she's going to give him a ton of chances. But after he kept showing her exactly who he was over and over again, like, if we as the readers can see so well that he is mistreating her, I really wanted her to figure it out a bit more, because to the end she kept defending him at times. She kept coddling him. And I was sad for her, truly. And also about that corset scene where, Zayden yells at her for not wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? With the way the scene is written, I first thought that those quotes are coming from Dane, that it's Dane saying those things and yelling at her. So I was like, Jesus fuck, leave her alone already. Like, you don't need to be her mom, first of all. And then I reread it and I was like, oh, that was Zayden acting like her mom and scolding her. I don't like that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't mind it because Zayden didn't do that normally. Normally he would just show her how to protect herself. He tried to train her. He tried to teach her things. So the fact that there was this like one moment when he was a bit annoying about the corset and stuff, I didn't mind it that much. And I was also agreeing with him in a bit, because she was literally in a gym full of people who would probably try to murder her. You can't not have that thing on. Like, it's really, it's the only thing that really it protected her so many times when she almost died. So just taking it off, I was also like, just don't, like, even if it smells, if it stinks, just put that thing back on. So yeah, I didn't mind that, but I get where you're coming from. There was also like another thing that I wanted to mention, but I think I kind of forgot a little bit. Oh, I guess I wanted to just again say about Dane, I don't know. Like the other parts, like I said, I do understand why you would find her to be not stupid, but this is supposedly an intelligent character. But I don't know, in regards to Dane, it's just emotions. It just speaks that she has empathy, she cares. And that's not a weakness in my opinion, She's just, and the fact that, she still cares and she wants to give him she gave him a few chances, but I feel like eventually, now that she's realized what he's done, it's gonna be enough. So, is it really a crime to like want to protect her all the time and stuff like that? Like, sure, you could, and she did distance herself from him a little bit in the middle, but we kind of skipped over that. She just mentioned that a couple of weeks have passed or something, and that she wasn't really close to him anymore and stuff. So she did distance herself, but she didn't completely disregard him. And I just read that as a strength in a way, that she really just cares that much. And I knew that eventually, like people like her, people who have such empathy, eventually they come to a point where they just snap and realize that enough is enough. And she hadn't come to that point yet. Even though it is difficult to read, it's still kind of, I understood her process and I was like, she'll get there eventually, and she did. So, I was happy.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on this. Yeah, on one hand, it absolutely shows how empathetic and how trusting she is to give him those chances over and over and over again. But on the other hand, as just an observer, I could tell like giving him so many chances will hurt you eventually. He's not worth it. Come on. But right, like when you're in this situation, that's someone who's been like one of the closest people in the world to you for decades. That's not how you're going to think, especially not immediately. Like, I just wished that sooner or later there'll be, I don't know. But I don't know if you haven't read the second book yet, so maybe that's, where she starts really like, what do I want to say?
Figuring things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe she does, but like I kind of got her there. And also, you know what did surprise me? I didn't expect Dane stealing her memories at the end. That reveal was a surprise to me because I didn't catch on the fact that he was touching her face or her head and stuff. I didn't catch that at all. I didn't think about that maybe he's actually, invading her privacy. Didn't cross my mind. So that was a nice plot twist.
True, yeah. I also, like Violet, assumed that if someone's reading your mind, you can somehow tell that this is happening. So, yeah, I was so surprised that, you might not even know that this happened to you, that she was, like, violated. So, true. Yeah, it was completely, blindsided by that reveal.
And did you expect her brother to be alive?
I didn't expect her brother to be alive. But, maybe it's because we, like, didn't like meet the brother beforehand, but like I wasn't like emotionally like losing my mind over the fact that he's alive. I was more shocked, like I said already before, by the fact that Zayden was aware that he is alive. That shocked me more than just her brother being alive. But the fact that, Zayden, like grew close to her over the course of a year, in this entire year, he knew that her brother was just like hanging out and like not telling his beloved little sister that everything's fine with him and keeping that secret. And that's also like one thing where, if you like emotionally put yourself into this character, maybe he had completely valid reasons to keep that information. But as an outsider, as a reader, I'm like, why didn't you tell her? Come on. That was mean from you.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. It was also a surprise to me that Brennan was alive. I didn't get that at all, and when she was falling in and out of consciousness, when she was hurt and Zayden was like, we have to get her to him, I don't care. And then when he was like, he's so impatient, he was talking about Brennan in the third person. We didn't know who it was. I didn't even then, I didn't think it was Brennan. And I knew he was a mender, he was a healer or whatever, and I still didn't think that maybe he was the one who healed her. So that was a good one. And also, I just caught on a detail that in regards to dragons, when we discussed how Thern and Andarna and the rebellion ones are the ones who want to help. But I just got an idea. Like, there's that general who has the biggest dragon, and he can also see the future. So, but he can see the future when the three of the rebellion offspring are together. That's why they can't convene in groups that are, larger than 3 people, which is a convenient plot thingy, but okay. But what if, the dragons are the ones that gave them the marks, Like, what if the dragons did that on purpose because they knew of the threat? And what if they wanted some people to kind of still help out and fight against the wyverns? And they knew that if they gave the rebellion kids this possibility that they can convene in groups more than 3, and that the general won't be able to see the future, that they can help like that, right? That's a nice way of kind of maybe in the next book showing us that the rest of the dragons are not okay with this, and maybe that they're just playing along and pretending or something and just waiting for the time to strike.
Yeah, no, I think you solved it. That is a way to make this plotline make sense. You're right. Yeah, the dragons must want this to happen. That's the only way to explain it, because I was just like, I read it and I was left so confused. Why are all those kids who are meant to be punished actually being given cool superpowers? And who would think of that as a punishment? And okay, yeah, if it wasn't meant as a punishment secretly, then the only way to make it make sense.
Yep. And just one more thing that I want to read from the book that I forgot earlier, because, like I said, I have problems with Zayden's and her relationship, but I didn't hate it completely. And this was another moment that I kind of liked. She asked him, "What changed? When exactly did you decide not to ruin me?" "Maybe it was when I saw Oren holding a knife to your throat," he says. "Or maybe it was when I realized the bruises on your neck were fingerprints and wanted to kill them all over again just so I could do it slowly. Maybe it was the first time I recklessly kissed you, or when I realized I'm fucked because I can't stop thinking about doing more than just kissing you. Does it even matter when, as long as it's changed between us?" That was a nice one. And eventually he also told her that every time she enters a room, all he can look at is her. All he sees is her. And those moments, they might sound cheesy, but I like them. I like them a lot. They're so cute, so cute.
Oh God, I'm gonna be so annoying. I'm so sorry. But
it's fine.
This quote again implies that there was a time where he was thinking genuinely about killing her, or he wants to imply to her that he was thinking genuinely about killing her. And we have established why I'm having trouble connecting, making it all make sense in my head. So
yeah, okay.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry to ruin
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's not. No, you didn't. I still like the quote. I still think it's just if I don't think about the context, just the quote. It's nice. But no, I'm the one who also debated this with you, and I agreed with you. So you're not ruining anything for me, and this isn't a surprise for me. But yeah, I will still say that I like the book. I have a lot of. Obviously, I agreed with you a lot, and I'm critical about the book. Like I said, it's overhyped. I don't think it reaches the hype. But it's still a fun read. You just have to keep your expectations low and treat it as a fun book. And when you don't overthink it, I guess, that's when you kind of enjoy it. But once you start thinking about it too much, like we do, that's when you realize all these little things. But overall, it can still be treated as a fun book, something that you read when you just need to not think of things and escape for a little bit to a unknown world.
Maybe, yeah. My problem is that I overthought it, but I also sort of took it as a book that wanted me to take it seriously, right? I didn't get the sense from the start that it's look, the author gets that this is ridiculous. We all get that this is ridiculous. Just turn your brain off and try the ride. I love books like that, actually. Red, White, and Royal Blue, for example. No way in hell is the author thinking that in real life could the Prince of England and the son of the president get together and this is a plot that makes any sort of sense? Of course it doesn't. And we're all sort of on the same page about it. But here I truly believe that Rebecca wanted this plot to make sense and wanted us to take it seriously. And I got into it on board with this premise. I was ready for this plot to make sense. I was ready to take it as a serious read. I was ready to overthink things. I love overthinking things in fantasy because the writers usually give me content to overthink. They usually overthink it more than I do, you know? So I was giving her like all my faith to then get stuff that makes some sense. Or maybe I'm stupid. Maybe it all makes sense and I'm the one who can't put two and two together. But this is why I was left disappointed, and I wish it was more than it was. But you know, as I said, it might not be for me. It might just be that me personally, I don't find like 3 million scenes of fighting fun, but people do, and I love it for them. Like, go for it, enjoy this book. I'll just like find something else fun. I don't know.
Yeah, no, when you put it like this, that's such a good point. Yeah, because this book, when you start reading it, it's established like this high fantasy book. And like you said, very serious, and you get presented to this whole new world. And of course, that when you start reading something like that, your expectations are high. So I completely get that if you go into it, and yeah, sometimes overthinking books like this is good. This isn't a negative trait, you know. You're overthinking it, guys. Of course, you're not gonna enjoy it. Like, if the book is good, overthinking is good too. Like, it's enjoyable. But of course, if it doesn't make sense, then yeah, you just get angry and annoyed, and you don't have that much fun, I suppose. So that was a really good point. Yeah, and yeah, I agree with that. Ugh, too bad, huh? Too bad.
Yeah. And I also want to point out that I don't mind reading books that are silly or that are meant to be just for fun. But usually there's some sort of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge happening. Like, the author is on the same page as you are. Like, we're just here for fun. But here I got that this was meant as a fully serious situation. So,
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that one. Actually, there's just one thing that I would like to mention. Jack. Like, just Jack. I also just wished he would be more developed. Like, just give me a little explanation why he hates her so much. Like, not just for the sake of it. Like, maybe he was also wronged by her mom somehow. I don't know. Just give me something. The fact that he was just a bully straight on for no reason. No, like, every bully has a reason, you know. Maybe like he was treated badly at home and that's why he became a bully and stuff like that. It's like a self-reflection thing. But give me so that I know, you know, as a reader, that I know that I can see into him, just because it's more interesting like that, right?
Yes, I get it. I get you. I mean, to me, he made sense as a character, but he makes sense to me like if he were a 12-year-old, like this behavior makes sense. That's why I kept forgetting that, you know, this book has 20-plus-year-old main characters. So he was written like a high school bully and not as an actual 20-year-old in a war college. And that's the main problem, I guess, with that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. I guess we can blame it on the system that they're raised in, you know. The weak are killed and the strong ones survive and stuff. Oh, and just another thing, you know, I also saw when they were walking in front of the dragons and they were like sniffing them and stuff. And this one person, I don't know if it was a girl or a boy, but they got killed. And they were actually a nice person. So I remember reading a comment online, you know, like, these dragons, I mean, they're shit. Why would they leave Jack alive, who's like a bad guy and annoying, and then kill someone that's a good person? And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. But, you know, that person, that's a character, was indecisive. They were, in that moment, they were like, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. And in that sense, it also made sense for the dragon to kill them, because why would they support someone that's indecisive, that can't make choices when it comes to battles? You know, at least Jack, he was decisive. He knew what he wanted to do. Even though it's stupid. But yeah, I still kind of wish he didn't even bond. I wished he would be like left without a dragon entirely, just to prove the point. But yeah.
Yeah, to me, like, the dragon society sadly values traits that you and me find shitty and horrible. But to most dragons, I guess they see that as strength.
Like I said, I still like the book. I still think it's a fun read. And if you go into it and expect that, you, of course, maybe you won't overthink these things and miss certain things and not dive too deeply in them and still enjoy the book. And that's what books are for at the end of the day, for you to enjoy them. And at the end of the day, I did kind of fall into the book. You know, once I started reading, it was hard for me to stop, because even though things didn't make sense, I still wanted to know what was going to happen. You know, I was still interested. So that's a plus. So in general, I like the book, but I don't think it's worth the hype. That's all.
Good. And I respect and appreciate your opinion. And I just hope I didn't come off as too much of a grumpy, no fun, let's shit on everything person in this episode, because, right, like there's things I absolutely enjoyed in this book. I just wish there were more of them. I wish they came up more frequently. And yeah, like I was not enjoying myself reading it, but I swear I was giving it like a full chance. I didn't just like decide I'm going to come on the internet and ruin everybody's fun like that. I don't want that, but I want to express myself.
Of course, no, you have the right to, and you know, people. I feel like with this book, yeah, it's very hyped. People seem to really like it, but I've also seen some negative opinions. You know, it's always like that. It's just some people. I don't know. Maybe the praise is louder than the criticism. You know, and yeah, we think differently, and that's the beauty of books. You know, we all have our perspectives, and yeah, I don't know. I like this debate. I thought it was interesting. I was really curious what you were gonna say. I was really curious what you thought, since we didn't talk about this book before at all. We didn't discuss anything. So yeah, good job.
It was fun. Yay.
It was. Yeah. Okay, so guys, this is all for this episode for Twing. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope our arguments made sense, and if not, maybe let us know. Maybe let us know if you see things differently. We would be really interested to hear that. So yeah, until next time, take care.
Cool. Yes, bye. See ya.